Hi, Tim here. I wanted to create a video response to Fanbows, who just posted a response to one of my videos. I'm going to go ahead and approve that for starters, and first of all congratulate Fanbows on getting into the whole sport or craft of making PVC bows, and you're starting to do some pretty interesting things. I especially thought the use of the vice grip, that's very creative. I like your idea. Use the vice grip with some blocks of wood. That's a very good idea. It's basically the same as using some C-clamps, or other sorts of hand clamps that you can use. Some of the, I don't know if you're looking for feedback. If you are, I'm really happy to help. If not, hey, you can ignore it and just take my congratulations and welcome to our little PVC crafting community. Otherwise, yeah, stick around and let's talk about some of the things that you're doing. I wanted to say, first of all, let's see, when you're using body weight to flatten the board, or to flatten the bows, that's going to produce typically a nice even taper from one side to the other, starting off thick at the handle and thin at the ends, and that's ideal. Typically, well, in a lever, the farther away you are from the fulcrum point, the more force you'll be able to exert on the other side. Bottom line is, the longer the limbs are, the more serious this effect becomes. You want to have a nice even taper so that it becomes thicker and thicker and thicker, and the limb becomes stronger and stronger and stronger the closer it gets to the handle. Once it gets at the handle, you're constrained by the geometry of the initial cylinder. You can flatten its side, front to back to make it a little thicker, but you can only do so much. So really you need to start off at the initial thickness and taper down, and it creates a nice gentle even taper. If you have too many spots that are a little over-flattened, and then under-flattened, and then over-flattened, you're going to find out that it'll hinge at those spots, especially if you have a very stiff portion, say in the middle of the limb. It won't bend there, it'll bend on either side of it, and that can create hinging. So that's the next problem you really need to look out for. When you start to string the bows, pull them and draw them, they're probably going to collapse, even if they're really well made, if they're forced to stretch too far or in the wrong ways. If you have those hinges, those visible hinges of areas that are over-flattened or a dramatically under-flattened area, you're probably going to get hinges right at those spots. It's just something that's expectable. So look out for that. And I also noticed a few things on the bow that you had in the not tapering jig, that you had in the vice grip. One was that since you were heating it in sections, some of those sections looked a little overheated, and you've got to be really careful. If you overheat it, the PVC starts to burn. I've got, in some of my videos, I've made a little demo where showing what happens if you overheat PVC. It'll start to turn first a blonde, then a nutty brown, then a dark brown, and then it just turns black and smoking. It's horrible. And it's outgassing a lot of really awful things, including chlorine, the chloride in the polyvinyl. That just comes right out of the molecule into the air, and you do not want it in your lungs. So be careful about that. And maybe for our purposes more relevant is the fact that at those burn spots, the bow is not going to be as strong because the plastic has been damaged. So be very careful. If you're going to try and use a bow that's been burnt, either in the wrong spot or too much, you may find you have no problem. Maybe it's just a surface burn. That's oftentimes doable if it doesn't go into the actual plastic. It's just on the outside. But just be careful, please. And I also noticed one of the areas on the left side of the vice grip looked like it had started to split. That can happen if you underheat and then clamp an area or flatten an area, or if you overheat an area dramatically, it sometimes at a weakened spot will just start to open up on its own. For me, that happens mostly at the ends of the limbs, because typically at the ends of the limbs I flatten them all the way, and that forms a crease. When you get that crease, if you reheat it, sometimes that area is thinner, and being flat, it doesn't have a lot of area to spread the heat that's coming into the edge onto. On the flat surface, the heat can spread out, go right down to the bottom, but on the edge, it has to travel inward. So it tends to accumulate heat there disproportionately, and being weaker and creased, it tends to burn and split. So try and heat very gently. I highly recommend building a channel. You can get either an aluminum channel or just take some cardboard and cover it with aluminum foil, and that'll allow you to reflect a lot of heat right back into the pipe. It'll make your flattening and heating about twice as fast. You'd be surprised how much easier it is when you do this. So give it a try. I'd love to see more of the cool stuff that you're creating. Thanks for watching. I suppose you watch if you posted a video response. And cool stuff. Show me some of the stuff that you create. I'd love to see you using it. Thanks. Bye-bye.